knows many of the individuals that were shown in the film, but the church that they mentioned that had been renovated, Mr. Bedrosyan was very much so involved with that, so I'm sure he'll touch upon that as well as some of the other aspects that were covered in the documentary. And I know they're not here, but a thank you to the filmmakers, not only for making this great documentary that's very timely, especially now, but also for giving us the permission to premiere it here on the East Coast. This documentary will be out next month. I think it'll be Blu-ray, DVD, and maybe even instant video streaming. You can find, if you just type in the name, you can find their website, and with more information you can even contact them. They're very good about replying. So if any of you actually want to see it, you know, a little bit better, like I said, some of you in the back probably didn't see everything. I'll do it, yeah. You can start talking and I'll set it up. All right, without further ado, Mr. Raffi Bedrosyan, thank you again for coming from all the way from Toronto to speak here. We appreciate that, so give him a big round of applause.
Hello everyone. First I'd like to thank Vilen and Dr. Mastrapa for inviting me to this very interesting conference today. I will try to explain what's happening with Armenians in Turkey today. I won't be talking about history, but I'll be talking about what's going on in Turkey today. My close friend, Hrant Dink, my late friend, Hrant, he always used to say that enough of talking about the dead and the gone. Let's start talking about the living and the remaining. The living and remaining meaning whoever is still in Turkey. Maybe I can come and do the thing.
You want to do it?
While I'm talking. Yeah, that's enough, yeah. First, let me just go back to 1915 for a few slides. These are orphans. They are fortunate people. You will say, why are they fortunate? They've lost everybody in their family. They have no one, but they were saved by Nearest Relief, American Relief, Christian missionaries, and this is the foundation of diaspora Armenians. These orphans became diaspora. So are these ones. Now, more unfortunate ones were orphans who were left in Turkey or under Turkish control. This is an orphanage in Ain Tura, Lebanon, run by the Turkish government under Cemal Pasha's direction. And the principal is a famous Turkish novelist, nationalist named Halide Edip Adıvar, who started a program to forcefully Turkify and Islamicize all these Armenian kids. And their initials were kept. For example, Armen Manukyan became Ahmet Mustafa. So all these names were kept. If they were heard speaking Armenian to one another, they were severely beaten. And 400 of them died and 1,600 of them were saved at the end of the war. But there are numerous orphanages like this which resulted in Turkifying all these orphans. There were several orphanages in the Eastern Front Army commander's control, Kazım Karabekir, and the healthy and physically fit ones were trained to become soldiers, and these formerly Armenian orphans became the most fanatically nationalistic Turkish soldiers, devoid of love or compassion. They became really radicalized. And this is one of their pictures. It's called the Army of the Healthy, Gürbüzler Ordusu. It means like they were trained to become ruthless soldiers. And now the girls. There were tens of thousands of girls who were sold as slaves and tattooed and sold as slaves. Slavery was abolished in Turkey in early 1900s, but these slave markets were opened again in 1915. The best prices were in Mardin. These are documented proof, evidence. The girls were sold for the price of a lamb. The girls from wealthy families but fetched higher prices because whoever got these girls as daughter or wife or maid then could also claim the properties of these poor girls. Now, most of these orphans, as I said, were Kurdified, Islamicized, Turkified. One of the most famous of these you saw in the film, Fatih Chatin, who was Hrant Dink's lawyer, one of the most well-known Turkish lawyers in Turkey. And she revealed in 2004 in a book called My Grandmother, her Armenian roots. And her grandmother told her about her Armenian roots. Her name was Seher, but her real name being Heranush. She told Fatih Chatin, and Fatih Chatin then, unfortunately after her grandmother passed away, looked for her grandmother and finally found her in New Jersey, and then she wrote this book. And after she wrote this book, there were hundreds of Turks who came forward saying that we have similar stories in our families. And then a second book came out called The Grandchildren, written by all these hidden Armenians who talked about their roots. Of course, the most famous hidden Armenian or orphan was this girl named Sabih Hagchen, who is the adopted daughter of Kemal Atatürk. She is the first female fighter pilot in Turkey. She's regarded a hero. Her name is given to the second largest airport in Turkey. It's called Sabih Hagchen International Airport. And Hrant Dink revealed that she is an Armenian orphan from 1915. And of course this was a scandal, and unfortunately this was the beginning of the end for Hrant. And after several years of persecution and prosecution, he was gunned down by a fanatic. Of course, the assassin is caught under 18 years old. He will not receive a severe sentence, but the real criminals, the real perpetrators of the crime within the state or the deep state, they may be suspected, but they are not caught. Ironically, some of them were already arrested and put in jail for attempting an overthrowing of the Erdogan's government. And even though they were in jail, they couldn't be prosecuted for the murder of Hrant Dink. And then now they are all released because Erdogan had a falling out with his one-time buddy, that Fethullah Gülen. This is the unprecedented funeral. Hundreds of thousands of people, as was mentioned in the movie and by our panelists before. It was like a pent-up frustration that came out. These cannot be Armenians. These are all Turks and Kurds who couldn't put up with the years of injustice or silence. So while these things are happening, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what's lost, or the cultural genocide. This is a map of Turkey which shows basically an illustration which shows the intensity of the churches. There are 2,300 apostolic, the mainstream Armenian churches, and there are another probably 1,000 Catholic and Protestant Armenian churches, plus 700 schools with the Armenian main church, as well as a few hundred for Catholic and Protestant. So there's about 4,000 buildings which have disappeared or converted to different things: mosques, banks, gym, one whorehouse, several private residences, and you name it. And most of them are also destroyed. Only around Lake Van there is 300 churches around Lake Van area. So as you can see, Armenians were not only concentrated in the eastern historic Armenia, but they were all over Anatolia. And of course, nobody is left here. At least that's what we thought until recently. This is the Diyarbakır Surpgiragos Church, which is the largest Armenian church in Middle East. And it was destroyed in 1915. I'm sorry, it was first used as headquarters for the German military within Diyarbakır at that time. And the minaret of the bell tower was bombarded and destroyed because it was higher than the area mosques. And then after the war, it was used as a warehouse for state monopoly fabric uses. But then it fell into disrepair, and by 2009 it was like this. The roof had fallen off. A handful of us got together, and it was decided that we will make an effort to reconstruct this church. And after getting approvals from the local municipality, which is all Kurdish, not Turkish, and Kurds have become quite sympathetic to the Armenian history, Armenian past. They have started to face history. They have started to acknowledge their role in it. Of course, this doesn't go as far as giving back all the properties, etc., but at least they face history, but to the extent that they say we were instruments of the state. We were told to murder. We didn't initiate, but we were the instruments, at least they say that. So the municipality was quite sympathetic, and it was negotiated with them not only to get all the approvals to rebuild this church, but also they pledged and they paid 1/3 of the cost of the church. The rest of it was collected from diaspora. I was the main organizer of the fundraising all over the world, wherever Armenians live. And in 2 years, it became this, in 2011. So during this church opening, there were about 4,000 people over a 2-day weekend opening. And most of these people are not Armenians, or were not Armenians in appearance. They were Kurdish or Turkish-looking people with the ladies' covered heads, etc. And most of them came and said to me that my grandmother is Armenian. My husband's grandmother is Armenian. Mostly it's the grandmothers, the women, which are the Armenians, which are all the stolen kids, the orphans from the deportation routes. The girls were all taken away. Or in some cases, Armenian families knew they were going to death, and they left their kids with neighboring Kurds. So most of these people showed up. So there were three objectives in my mind when we started this reconstruction of the church. One was to show to Turkey, the people of Turkey, that Armenians used to exist in Turkey before 1915, because the state educational system completely ignores the presence of Armenians, and especially young Turks, young kids, they don't know that there was a huge Armenian existence in eastern Turkey. So such a big church, which has a capacity of 3,000 people, obviously is a solid evidence of Armenian presence. So that was first objective. Second objective was to create this place like a sort of like a genocide monument or memorial within Turkey, where all Armenians can come and visit and understand and feel the history, what happened there. And third, the most important objective was that this church could become an attraction, a magnet, and give courage to all the hidden Armenians. And most of them showed up during the opening. As I said, most of these people were not known as Armenians. So after the church opening, I'm a pianist, by the way, as well as a civil engineer. So I had the privilege of giving the first concert there in the church. And it was mainly a fundraising for the bell tower. And after the concert, the bell tower was built. The purpose of doing these concerts is to ensure that there is life, cultural life, social life to be centered around this church, because there's no priest, and most of these hidden Armenians who are coming out, they are not also becoming Christian. They are staying Islamized Armenians. So there is too much discrimination against becoming Christian suddenly. But the Kurds do accept having a different ethnic identity, but it's more difficult for them to accept the conversion of religion as well. However, that is also happening, as you will see in the following slides. So this concert was, as I said, the first social or cultural event there, and this was followed by other exhibitions, conferences, other concerts, etc. And during this concert, a little Kurdish girl who was a hidden Armenian not only had learned how to speak Armenian, but also knew how to sing Armenian. So I invited her, this is the concert, she also sang an Armenian song during the concert. Then, to encourage them even more, the church foundation, as well as the Diyarbakir municipality, together we organized Armenian language classes. And even though on paper there are no Armenians there, there's only one old couple who is in the identity papers, it shows as Christian Armenian. The rest is all Muslim, Turk or Kurd. So all these people signed up for this language class, and it continued for a few months, and then they graduated. So they got their diplomas. In order to encourage them even more, I should say the portly big guy in the middle is the mayor of the local municipality, a Kurdish guy, or between us, perhaps not Kurdish. So all these people have some sort of Armenianness in them, in that picture. In order to encourage them even more, I organized a trip to Armenia for the graduates of this Armenian course. So last year in August, they hired a bus, and from Diyarbakir through Georgia to Yerevan, They traveled. I flew from Toronto, met them, and then we went around Armenia visiting all the historic places so that they will understand further their cultural and historic roots. It was truly a historic trip, and I must say the government and especially the people of Armenia really embraced these hidden Armenians who had the guts to come out. That's the Deputy Minister of Diaspora welcoming them. And after a while, the formalities were left aside and everybody started dancing, of course. You know, the diaspora deputy minister, he said he's from Van originally. There are some people here from Van. They embraced. Some are from Sasun, some are from Diyarbakir or Mush. So everybody's roots is basically the Eastern Turkey or Western Armenia, as you call it. And even though they didn't speak the language very well in Armenia, they felt at home immediately. There was widespread media coverage, and wherever we went, people were coming. This guy, I will explain a bit about this guy. He's from Diyarbakir. His name is Gafur Türkay, a truly Turkish and Muslim name. Last name, Türkay means Turkish crescent, Turkish moon. His name now is Ohan Ohanyan. His email is ararat1915@hotmail.com. So these people are going from one extreme to the other. And he's baptized and he's now Christian. So we went around all the museums. I should tell you about this group of people a little bit. This is the oldest guy, 84 years old. The youngest was 18 years old. In the group, it says 50 people who graduated from this Armenian course. And they come from all walks of life. There are doctors, lawyers, business people, housewives, unemployed people, retired people, teachers, students, different socioeconomic as well as cultural backgrounds. However, one common thing, they all had Armenian ancestry in their past. They had discovered that and they wanted to become real Armenians. So it was very interesting. Each of them have a different story on how they realized that they were Armenians. Some of them, they found out that they were Armenians when their grandparents or their parents at their deathbed, they said that, you know, we are Armenian, and that's how they discovered as adults. Some of the men, they discovered they have something like Armenianness in them in the military service, in forced military service. They think that they are Kurds or Turks marching here and there, but then when the time comes to operate a tank or an airplane, they are told they cannot. And then the government also has records on who has Armenian roots. So they are told that their family is not Muslim, Turk, or Kurd. So that's how they found out. Some of them, they found out when they were little girls or boys. To call someone Armenian is a common insult in Turkey. Like even two Turks, when they are fighting one another, instead of calling someone a-hole, they say Armenian. So Armenian is used as a swear word. So a girl, when they're calling after her as Armenian, she cries, comes home, and she says, you know, my friends swore at me as Armenian, and then the mother tells that, you know, that's not a swear word, we are really Armenians, but keep it as a secret. So, different stories. These are the teachers, or the retired teachers. in the group. You can see that guy, the second one. He's the one in the movie, the one with the blue and white shirt. We took them to Oshagan, where the creator of the alphabet, Mesrop Mashtot, is buried. So they discovered the reason why we have these crooked letters as alphabet. So it was quite interesting. The museum, etc. Then we decided to go to Echmiadzin, which is the main church of the Armenian nation. There was one person who wanted to be baptized, a teacher, and this teacher is in a Turkish state school teacher, and until now no Christian is allowed to work for public sector, for especially a Turkish state school. But he had come out and he said that I also want to be baptized in the name of my grandfather, Stepan. So I had arranged with the Echmiadzin clergies to have this guy baptized. There was also a woman who was quite indecisive. She had a big dilemma. Her father, just before he died, had told her that we are Armenians and you must become Christian. So, and she had promised him. However, her husband was a very pious, religious Kurdish gentleman. And he had told this woman that, you know, if you ever dare something like that, don't come back from Armenia. So she was caught between these two big, the rock and the hard place. And the last night before we went to Echmiadzin, she came to me and said, I'm sorry, Raffi, I won't be able to go ahead with this. So that's how we left. In the morning, we visited Sardarabad, and from there, while we are driving to Echmiadzin, she came to me and said, I'm sorry, I changed my mind. I need to be baptized. My father suffered all his life. If I have to suffer from now on, it's still okay. So instead of one, we ended up having 2 baptisms. This is the ceremony. You watch the ceremony in the movie for the guy. The lady is a retired teacher, by the way. So it went on, and she took the name of her grandmother, Angel, and the guy took the name of his grandfather. These are all the important places in Armenia that we visited. And whenever, it's a very emotional trip that whenever they hear some music, they start dancing. Whenever they see some cooking utensil or some artifact which is similar to what they have at home, they start crying. They remember their grandmother, etc. So raw nerves, raw emotions, Ararat at the back, Noravank. And then we came to the Genocide Museum. Again, there was huge media coverage for all this event. And for a moment now, I will stop the Armenia trip and go back to Diyarbakir. This is a place called Chungush. Chungush is a suburb of Diyarbakir, about an hour from the city center. And it was an entirely Armenian town in 1915. 10,500 Armenians, 13 people survived. And this is a very dramatic area because most of the Armenians from Chungush as well as from the deportation convoys were taken to, there is a gorge, like a big hole in the ground, which is about 500 feet deep, and there's a river that runs under there. You hear the sound, but you don't see the river, and it's called Düden because in Kurdish, Düden means two sounds, like it echoes your sound, and that river goes and joins Euphrates. So the Armenians, the men, were tied 10 people to one another and then pushed down. And then after the men, the women. And there's one story that one of those 13 people who survived this massacre here was an Armenian girl, one of the chieftains who was organizing the massacre. He picked her as his wife. And about a year or 2 years after that, this man with his new wife on the horseback behind him, they were, horseback riding in the area. She jumped off from the horse, came to the gorge, and the man is running after his wife. "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm going after my mother and father." So I'm coming back to this because every spring, the Diyarbakır Hidden Armenians, they come to this place for picnic. And they bring whoever else wants to come out. So it is like a pilgrimage, but it is quite special and meaningful. And there's a huge Armenian church there as well. So back to Armenia. Every morning we had Armenian classes there. This was suggested by the Armenian government, and they appointed a teacher. I thought these people, they came to visit Armenia to see nice places. They wouldn't want to sit at a class, but they were so enthusiastic. Every morning, 8 o'clock, they would come to the class for an hour, and then at 9:30 we would take the bus and go around. And of course, dancing and eating, drinking. I should tell you that because of all this intense media coverage, several of these people had long-lost relatives, and some of them found each other through phone calls, through media, etc. And I announced that one night we will have a Diyarbakır night. We closed the restaurant, and we invited all these long-lost relatives. And some of them, they found each other, of course, for the first time. And these people don't speak Armenian. The Armenian relatives don't speak Turkish or Kurdish. And it was quite dramatic. Like one scene was two 70-year-old people. One retired person from Diyarbakır, and the other one was a farmer from Armenia. Cousins. First time they see each other. The Armenian with golden teeth and, typical. He came with a huge bushel of fruit for everybody. And all night, while we were dancing, these two guys, they just held hands. 3 hours, just like that. Okay, now some of these people, they realized, as I said, they became Armenian after they were adults. And they have also become fanatical resistance fighters for Kurds. So one of them also told me, if I knew I was Armenian, I would fight for Armenians. What did I spend my life fighting for the Kurds against the Turks? So there are a lot of stories like this. So that's the end of it for the Diyarbakır. And I must say that for this coming April 24, I'm going back and I'll give another concert there. in the church. So we're not only commemorating the lost Armenians, but we're also celebrating the rebirth of the new Armenians. Now, we're also, meaning it's me and one or two other guys right now, we are also organizing in other areas of Turkey for the Armenians who are coming out. I won't encourage anybody to come out, but once they are coming out, we will do everything to help them, support them. Dersim, if you know, is a beautiful region. You saw in the movie some of the places, but it's between Erzurum, Bingöl, Erzincan area. And over here, Armenian classes started February 1st. And they're, it writes Menk Aysor Hayren Tasunik. Like today we have Armenian class. It's written in Latin alphabet, in Turkish, they understand, and then they learn the same thing in the Armenian alphabet. So they are taking classes, and this guy has already changed his name. He was Selahattin Gültekin, now his name is Mihran Pırgiç. So all these people find me, and I encourage them, I finance them. Last week, another historic first was done, and 12 hidden Armenians went from Dersim to Armenia. But there's a political twist. They are all elected village officials of completely Armenian populated or hidden Armenian populated villages. So that, this is the classes. They are learning Armenian. And this is Dersim Armenians Social Assistance Association. And these are the Dersim village officials who were in Armenia last week. I only have one or two pictures, but it's again completely emotional and historic first. And of course, when they go back, there are a lot of new problems, new situations which we don't know how it will be handled, either by their neighbors or by themselves. Before I talk about Hemşin, for example, that teacher who became Armenian now, and Christian Armenian, and he's still teaching in the Turkish state school. How will the parents of the Turkish Kurdish kids regard or deal with him as an Armenian guy now, teaching their kids? Or he is telling me that he knows there are several kids from hidden Armenians among his class. So how will he deal with them, or how will they deal with him? Or the hidden Armenian kids' parents, are they going to come out themselves, etc.? So there are a lot of questions, psychological, sociological, a lot of new problems. Now Hemşin is another completely mysterious area. People in Hemşin, they are all regarding themselves as Muslim Turks, most of them. But they speak in a dialect of Armenian. Without realizing that, they are speaking Armenian. Armenians can go there and communicate with them. But they are brainwashed that, no, they're not speaking Armenian. They're speaking a dialect from Central Asian Turkish roots, and that their origin is from Central Asia, Turkey, Turkic Central Asian people. But we know that they are converted 3 centuries ago, most of them, and they were Armenians before that. And there's a whole history now coming out from professors in Armenia that the history of Hemşin is completely Armenian origin. But it is very, very difficult, a challenge, and dangerous because these are the most fanatic, nationalistic Turks in this area. However, there are still developments happening, and we are in touch with a few of them toward organizing more Armenianness in the area. I won't go into details about them. These are nice little girls from Hemşin area. And another new development is Mush. There are absolutely not even one Armenian left there. That's what people thought. But 2 years ago, again, this is all linked to, in my mind, two things. One is Hrant Dink's unfortunate murder, and second, the Surp Giragos. All these people, they come to Surp Giragos Diyarbakır church, they pick up Armenianness, they go back, they find the courage to come out. So Daron is Mush's old Armenian name. So they formed a Mush Armenians Support Social and Tourism Association in Mush, and they are now organizing protest movements against destruction of further Armenian churches or Armenian historic houses in the area. I will show this map as my last slide, food for thought. This shows the previous Turkish elections. The orangey area is all Erdogan's party, which is central, north, and the coastal red area is the Kemalist, the nationalistic party. The green areas are the pro-Kurdish party. And the Hidden Armenians are coming out from that area. And as you can see, the border with Iran, Iraq, and half of Syria, there is no Turks left anymore, or Turks are not in control anymore. With the elections coming up this summer, in June, it is expected that more of that green area will become bigger and bigger and bigger. I won't make any comments, but this is something that we should consider in the future. Thank you. Questions, please. No question?
What happened to the baptized woman? You said her husband said, don't bother coming home.
Yeah.
Did she go home? Are they still together? Did he accept it? What happened?
Yeah, she went home. The husband was completely accepting his new Christian wife. They really love each other, actually, but their main challenge is they have 3 kids. One of them is still 11 years old, and they don't know how to deal with this situation now, or how to explain this to the kid. The mom goes to Armenia as a Muslim woman, comes back from the trip as a Christian woman with a Christian name. Like, these are all personal issues, but they are dealing quite nicely, and they write me all the time, and they're happy. They're dealing with it. I forget many things. The amount or the number of hidden Armenians, it's a question which no one knows. We know from 1915 studies independent studies show that there are at least 200,000 orphans kept within Turkey. We know that there are also hundreds of thousands, maybe 100,000 or maybe 200,000 Armenians in their own villages who accepted conversion to Islam in order not to be deported. And for a few months at least they were kept, but in many areas even converted Islamized Armenians were then sent to Deir Zor. But still there is a large amount of Armenians who have accepted Islam. So if you add 400,000 people from 1915, and Turkey's population increased sevenfold since then. So 7 times 300,000 or 400,000, you're talking 2.5 million people who have Armenian blood in them, but doesn't mean that these are hidden Armenians. Most of them have been assimilated, lost. Some of them who know their parents are Armenian, they don't care, and who knows how many of this several million would come out, but the number is significant, in any case greater than Armenia's population. Yes?
Mr. Bedrosyan, firstly, thank you so much for the excellent presentation and for all that you do.
Thank you.
My question is, in your presentation you said we, and then you said it's just me and a couple other guys, and that's a bit sad to hear, but what's been your experience thus far? Do you see some more interest from other Armenians in the diaspora in Armenia that want to join this project to sort of make it even larger scale, or has it been generally it's been generally cold response?
It is too new, and in a way it's better that I can fly under the radar. If it's publicized as an organization doing these things, there will be more resistance from the government. So we will keep it to low-key individuals helping these people. But I must say that, of course, everything is done by money, funds. So we collect anonymously from people who support these projects. The only one who helps openly is Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon, Portugal, which has supported me all the time on all these projects. But it's better to stay away from, political or cultural other organizations. Yes?
First of all, again, thank you. It's phenomenal work, very inspiring. The question is, and you kind of mentioned it now, you said flying below the radar. So my question was, what's the response from the Turkish government? Are they even aware?
Oh, sure they are aware, yeah.
Have you faced any difficulty? Because you said you work with municipalities, but as
Yeah.
a government?
Yeah. The Kurdish municipalities or Kurdish government people are even supporting, I would say, right now. But perhaps this is only because enemy of my enemy is my friend. So no problems with the Kurds so far. And the Turkish government I haven't had any problems with them yet. So we'll keep it this way for now. How can they oppose if people are coming out? They are not committing any crimes. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yes.
First of all, again, I applaud your effort. This is wonderful. And forgive my ignorance, but what happened to Hrant Dink's case? Where is it now?
Yeah, it's a sad case, unfortunately. So Hrant Dink's murderer was found immediately. They knew who he was, where he was. Immediately they found him in a bus station the next a few hours after the killing. However, whoever is behind him, for a long time, as I said, the government was hinting that it is deep state people who were also against the government, trying to overthrow the government. Even though the government was hinting about these deep state people, they weren't being charged with Hrant Dink's murder. And unfortunately, now that, so that's one part of it. But there was also within the government bureaucracy, police, intelligence, gendarmerie, between Istanbul and Trabzon, where the assassin came from. There is huge evidence that the government officials, these bureaucracy, knew about the impending murder, impending assassination plot. And these police people were all protected until today. They were even promoted and given higher positions. One of them even became a minister, general security director, etc. So all these people were protected within Erdogan's control, let's say, within the government bureaucracy. Now that Erdogan is in a fight with Fethullah Gülen, who was this religious person secluded in Pennsylvania, but huge influence on government bureaucracy. Now that they are in a fight, Erdogan now has started to go after these police bureaucrats, saying only because they were followers of Fethullah Gülen, and he's starting to charge them now, 8 years after the crime. But again, it's only to get even with Fethullah, so the real perpetrators, unfortunately, are still scot-free. Yes?
There is a tendency of immigration from Turkey to Europe, and it has been around since, I think, 1960s. A large number of people left Turkey and settled down in Europe. I understand that inside Turkey, it's a new thing that Hidden Armenians get back to their origins. I was wondering if you are aware of any tendency that throughout this decade, starting from 1960s, many of those Islamized Armenians left Turkey, went to Europe, Germany or elsewhere, and then they tried to recover their identity. Is there any such a thing, any such community in Islamized Armenians in Europe?
In Europe, definitely they are coming out, they have come out long time ago. The Islamized Armenians who have left Turkey and gone to Holland, Germany, etc., they are Armenians already. But none of them are prepared to go back to Turkey, to their original places. However, recently, several big weddings are taking place in Turkey, and I must say that the Kurdish families and the Armenians who have been Kurdified, they are large clans. Like one family is 5,000 people, or even more. So there are these weddings that take place in Turkey sometimes, and from all over Europe, all these people converge into Adıyaman or Maraş or some other place, and there is this huge wedding. In appearance, it is like a Kurdish wedding, but they are not Kurds. So, yeah, and another instance is that these hidden Armenians in Turkey, they go to Europe to get baptized secretly, and they come back and continue living as Turks or Kurds. Yes, Katie.
Yes. Can you talk about, are there a lot of Turks who are not Kurdish who are coming out, who are hidden Armenians, and then where are the grandfathers? Because there were orphan boys who were taken in, right? Were they just much smaller numbers than the orphan girls?
Yeah. First question was, are there also Turks who are coming out as hidden Armenians, like the Kurds? And very few, I would say. It's mainly within Kurdish regions that these people are coming out. And your second question was why there are no grandfathers? It's mostly grandmothers. That's because, yeah, mostly the grandmothers were picked as girls by these Kurdish people, and the men, not too many survived, I guess. I can tell you one funny story that one of these hidden Armenians, when he was a little boy in Diyarbakir, he didn't know that he was a hidden Armenian at that time, that he's a Kurd, and with two other Kurds, they go into a watermelon farm, orchard, and they steal watermelons, these three boys. And the owner of that orchard is a hidden Armenian, and they know that he is a hidden Armenian. So by chance, this owner of the orchard, he comes and seizes the boys, but he lets the two Kurds go, and he gives a severe beating to the hidden Armenian. Now, why did the hidden Armenian guy beat only the hidden Armenian boy? If you think about it, they are trying to blend in as much as possible, or to show that they are really good Turks, good Kurds, or Islam, by punishing that hidden Armenian boy. And some of these hidden Armenians, they have also become imams, like clergy, most Islam clergy. So he is one of them. I know that he was praying to Jesus at home on Bible, and then his day job was in the mosque giving the Muslim prayers. And another imam, he married his daughter to a hidden Armenian family, and all the Kurds were amazed that, how can you give your daughter to an infidel? And he said, oh, I know that boy is a good boy. But all these, that's the other thing. The hidden Armenians, they know each other, and they try to make sure that their kids marry each other and continue at least this connection. So there are so many different interesting aspects to this new subject. And this is a new reality that Armenians should accept, that after Armenia, Karabakh, Artsakh, and diaspora, we have a new reality, new community of these hidden Armenians. And to your question, it's not 100% accepted by Armenians, this reality yet. Yes, sir.
Well, wonderful work and wonderful talk. Thank you so very much. I had a question about, from the movie earlier, there was a scene in which a mother was talking about her son who had been killed on April 24th.
Yes.
And the question I guess I have is, to what degree, which is very alarming, to what degree does the Turkish government keep track of the Armenians and persecute them in subtle or not so subtle ways in the current day?
That's a very good question, actually. And despite all this good news realities which I'm pushing,
Which is wonderful.
the other reality is that there is still widespread discrimination by, perhaps not Kurds anymore, but by Turks against Armenians within the general population, and the government, perhaps not openly, but covertly and subtly, is still discriminating against Armenians. Only last week, for example, in Istanbul, in one of the good areas of Istanbul, on a church wall, there was a handwritten message saying that no matter how many times you say we are all Hrants and Armenians, one Ogün Samast is enough for you. That Ogün Samast is the assassin of Hrant Dink. So this was written on an Armenian church wall. They wiped it out, this graffiti. The next day, on the same church wall, this is happening last week, it was written 1915 was a blessed year. So this should give you an idea that there is more openness. I mean, all of this openness is, we must acknowledge that the government is allowing certain freedoms, freedom of expression. Nobody is being persecuted anymore for saying genocide. Conferences are openly being done. Activities like mine are not being punished. But there is still a lot of discrimination and hatred. Hatred is the big word. From Turks, brainwashed, indoctrinated Turks against Armenians, that they all see this centennial celebrations or commemorations as a plot against Turkey. So that's, the nationalistic hatred is still there. Yes, sir.
It's going to be the last question.
Okay, last one.
What has been the stance of Armenians in Istanbul towards the Armenians who are coming out?
Yeah.
Have they accepted them fully, or they are ambivalent?
Another very good question. That what's the attitude of the Armenians of Istanbul? That is the known real Armenians against these hidden Armenians. What's their attitude? And unfortunately, not as enthusiastic as I would hope. Especially the patriarch, acting patriarch. He's not a real patriarch. Acting patriarch doesn't consider these people Armenian until they are completely fluent in Armenian, completely baptized and Christianized, and know all the church rules, etc., change their names. And this is completely unrealistic. These people are surrounded by Turks and Kurds where they live. They cannot do all of these things before being accepted. So they are kind of discriminated still by the church hierarchy, not in Armenia, in Istanbul. And some of the Armenian community leaders also feel threatened by these hidden Armenians coming from Anatolia to Istanbul. They feel that they will try to take away the churches and schools' control of them, which again is unacceptably wrong. Okay, thank you again very much. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Tanya.
So we really did save the best for last. Thank you so much. That was a very, personally for me, very inspiring, and I could tell from some of the reactions of our audience that you felt it as well. And thank you to all of you for especially those who have been here since 10 in the morning. I know it's a Saturday, and yes, it's chilly, but it's still a nice sunny day, and there's a lot of things you all could be doing. But events like these ultimately are important because it's not just about keeping the memory alive, but it's also drawing lessons and coming to conclusions and frankly just helping to spread the word. So on behalf of the Institute of World Politics, on behalf of Mistrapa Consultants, and on behalf of the Political Development Research Center, I thank you all for attending, and starting with Dr. Chatin, to everybody in between, ending with Mr. Raffi Bedrosyan. Thank you to all the speakers. And of course, none of this would have been possible without the help of all the people that were behind the scenes, putting the food out, getting the drinks out, and all of that. So a big thank you to them as well. Thank you, everyone. God bless.